Caitlin Clark, their unquestioned star, sidelined since mid-July with quad and groin injuries. No timeline for her return. No true point guards left on the roster after Sydney Carlson tore her ACL in Phoenix and Ari McDonald broke her foot in the exact same game. The so-called experts were sharpening their pencils, ready to write about the Fever's collapse in bold letters. But here's the thing about expectations, they're often built on surface-level logic, and surface-level logic has no idea how much fight is buried inside a locker room that refuses to accept the story everyone else is telling about them. The reality? This team didn't just survive. They showed up, ripped the script in half, and wrote a new chapter in permanent marker, and it didn't even take long for us to realize something was different. The Fever were coming off back-to-back losses to Phoenix and Los Angeles, games that weren't just defeats, but the kind that chip away at your belief in your playoff chances. The kind that make even the most loyal fans glance nervously at the standings. The narrative was already forming. Without their star, and without a floor general, the Fever were done. But instead of sulking, the players kept their heads up. Coach Stephanie White could have leaned into excuses, injuries, bad luck, the professional grind, but she didn't. She said this league doesn't hand you anything. You either show up or you get run over. And when your point guard depth chart has been reduced to literally no one, showing up means finding new ways to play the game. That's how we ended up in this bizarre situation. The Fever, with no healthy point guards and no ability to sign one because the trade deadline had passed, had to run their entire offense by committee. Translation? We're not exactly sure who's bringing the ball up, but it'll be someone. Kelsey Mitchell, their offensive weapon known for buckets, not assists, suddenly found herself in the unfamiliar role of primary ball handler. Sophie Cunningham and Aaliyah Boston had to take on initiation duties in spots. Plays were simplified. The lineup went big. It was patchwork basketball, the kind you might expect to crumble under real game pressure. And if you were the Chicago Sky, you probably thought you'd finally caught the Fever at their weakest. The Sky had lost every matchup against Indiana this season, and here was their golden opportunity for revenge against a wounded opponent, except they forgot something important. This Indiana team has been quietly building something all year long: chemistry, resilience, and the ability to adapt when things go wrong. You could see it right from the start. Lexie Hull, who had been mired in a brutal shooting slump, hit a three-pointer early in the game, and it was like watching a dam break. Hull had gone 2 for 25 from deep in the last 2 weeks. Her confidence had been leaking away with every miss. Even her mom hadn't seen her make a three since the 1st of August. But the second that shot fell, you could see the joy on her face, and you could see Caitlin Clark on the sideline exploding with excitement like she'd hit it herself. That one make wasn't just 3 points, it was the mental unlock she'd been searching for. Hull didn't stop there. She moved off the ball with purpose. She hunted for her spots, and she shot without hesitation. By the end of the night, she was 4 for 6 from deep, scoring 17 points with a +22 rating. But the stats don't tell the whole story. What mattered most was that she looked like herself again. Her teammates knew it, too. They celebrated every bucket like it was a game winner. Boston threw up 3 fingers in the air. Cunningham hugged her like she'd just hit a finals dagger. This wasn't just a player rediscovering her shot. It was a team watching one of their own break free from a mental cage. And while Hull was finding her rhythm, Kelsey Mitchell was quietly reinventing herself in real time. She admitted she hadn't played point guard since college, and you could see the adjustment in the first few possessions. She's a natural scorer. Her instinct is to look for her own shot first. But now, she had to scan the floor, see passing lanes, and decide where the ball should go. And then, something clicked. She started threading passes into tight windows, setting up easy layups, and keeping the offense balanced. She still scored, because she's Kelsey Mitchell, but the 8 assists she tallied were the real headline. She sacrificed her comfort zone for the good of the team, and the result was an offense that looked far more polished than anyone had a right to expect under the circumstances. The Fever didn't just beat Chicago. They dismantled them. 92-70. A 22-point blowout against a team desperate for a win. And here's the twist that takes this from impressive regular season victory to statement performance. They did it without their star, without their point guards, and without any excuses. They proved they could generate offense from multiple weapons. They proved they could defend with collective intensity. They proved that their success isn't tied to one player's brilliance, but to a culture of selflessness and trust. When Hull was down, her teammates kept feeding her. When Mitchell had to change her role, the team adjusted around her. When adversity hit, they didn't panic, they pulled tighter. Coach White talked about it afterward. The front office made a point in the offseason to sign quality human beings, not just talented basketball players. Players who would root for each other's success, even if it meant fewer touches or minutes for themselves. That kind of culture doesn't just make the locker room a pleasant place, it wins games when everything goes sideways. And if you're an opponent looking ahead to the playoffs, this is the last thing you want to see. A team that has learned how to win when it's not supposed to. Because when Caitlin Clark comes back, she's not rejoining the same team she left in July. She's rejoining a team that has built resilience under pressure, a team where Hull has her confidence back, where Mitchell can run an offense if needed, where Boston continues to anchor the paint, and where every player knows they can be called upon to step up at any moment. That's not just dangerous, that's championship DNA being formed before our eyes. The Chicago Sky walked into this game thinking they'd find a wounded opponent ready to be picked apart. Instead, they walked out with their fourth straight loss to Indiana this season, and a fresh reminder that this Fever squad isn't just here to make the playoffs. They're here to make noise when they get there. They're not perfect, and they're not invincible, but they're connected, disciplined, and unshakable in a way that makes them far more dangerous than the standings alone suggests. So, if you were one of the people expecting the Indiana Fever to crumble, you might want to reevaluate your script. The reality is a lot messier for their opponents, and a lot more exciting for anyone who loves watching a team defy the odds. And if you're a Fever fan, you already know, you don't just watch games like this for the scoreboard. You watch them because you can feel something building. Something that isn't going away anytime soon. Keep believing, because nights like this are how legacies start.